Today I was talking to a guy that I know, which is a local entrepreneur, and he likes chasing new businesses and always coming up with new ideas and new projects. And today we were talking for a while, and he was complaining that in his mind he's doing the right thing because he's developing. He's like creating places for people to work, jobs, and he's being entrepreneurial. You know this arguments, right? If you are an entrepreneur and you create a company that produces some kind of service or product, and then you need to hire people, and therefore you are helping the economy and helping especially the economy where you are acting. So we are talking about small entrepreneurs, right? We're not talking about this big giant stock market holders, shareholders. We're talking about real people, real economy. And he was complaining a lot about for example public services, in the way when I mean public services, it's like, first of all, he complains about taxation. Second of all, he complains about all the rules that they have to follow, which is another kind of taxation, because when you have to, every time a law is created, it's kind of a new imposition on businesses. For example, now to open a business, for example a restaurant, you have to have A, B, C licenses, inspection certificates, insurance for this and that, licenses for this and that, all this kind of, every time a law is created, a new little bit of income is extracted from this small business. And so he's a young guy, he was complaining about all this, and that he goes around doing his thing, working like hell, working a lot, and still he has the feeling that everything is against him. Everything, although some of his businesses are successful, but he still feels that everything is against him. He's always rowing against the tide, swimming against the tide. And I found this bit of conversation with this guy most interesting, because this fits in a logic, in a thought that I've been having, and it's not exclusively of mine, of course, from reading and listening to authors, and being interested in politics and policies, different kind of policies, economic policies, local and broader spectrum, a variety of things, because everything is politics, right? And then I realized that you have this discourse in public society. You have this discourse that like every boss is the same, or every worker is the same. For example, when you have unions claiming better wages and better working conditions, and they are demanding that from their bosses, the companies where they work, and then their bosses lobby within the government, they lobby to lower workers' rights and lower workers' benefits, so they profit more, and this is a constant struggle. And then one might think where this kind of small entrepreneur fits, right? Most of these small entrepreneurs, small companies, micro and mini companies, they almost all of them think that they belong in this struggle between, for example, between unions and companies. They belong in the side of the companies, in the side of the bosses, because then they identify with the same problems. It's like If I have to pay bigger wages, how would my company survive? If I have this or this expenses, how can I manage, right? Wrong. It's absolutely wrong. You see, there is no difference when you're talking about small entrepreneurs, small companies, the real local economy. There is not much difference from the worker, to set aside the worker from the boss. Of course, we have some exceptions, right? Where the inequality might reach a big level. But most of the businesses, what happens is that the boss is a worker. It's a worker. If you look at the broader spectrum of the economy, he is working for all to satisfy all these rules, to satisfy all these bank taxes and interest rates and all the laws imposed. And the worker does that to less extent, but it does that all the same. And both of them, the boss and the worker in the small companies, are drowned with work and struggle financially a lot of times, right? But the arguments are done in such a way, in the public discussion, the discussion of the public domain is done in such a way that it makes people believe that there are two sides. The majority of the companies in many places are tendentially tend to be small companies, right? Of course, then you have, when it becomes very appealing, the business, when the business grows enough, it becomes very appealing, then of course these huge giant companies tend to come and buy them all over, and everything becomes the same. They fire half of the workers, and they, this story. Okay, but all of this goes to say that while I was having this conversation and I was listening to this guy, and he was telling me about all his difficulties, and it really fits this kind of model. If you cannot, first of all, if your company, which is not this case, but there are many, creating a company in the nowadays liberal economy, it's like playing the game of chairs. It's not enough for everyone. A lot of people are doomed to fail, okay? And when they complain that they failed only because they had to pay higher salaries, it's a kind of a joke, because what really means is that within this economic model, which is, they always complain about the wages, but the wages they have to pay, but of course they have to pay a bunch of extra things more, and that which make their business not viable. Only a few businesses are viable in this model, because they are burdened with so many rules that many times do not apply to the big companies. And so, and banks and big companies go hand in hand. So trying to sum this up, I hope I'm not being too confusing, is most of the people in the economy, most of the economic actors, small ones, are just workers. We are just feeding a bigger machine which are run by banks and giant corporations. Because bear in mind that giant corporations, when they want money, they just go to the banks and borrow without worrying of having to pay. You know this. This is how billionaires work, right? This is how they don't pay taxes. This is how, they have, among many other schemes they have. These are the real vampires of the economy. They are the real people that draw on this hard work that I just mentioned of workers and small bosses, small entrepreneurs that really have to be extra creative, have to work long hours, extra hours to make it, just to survive. And if a little bit of luck and of course some self-ingenuity, they can overcome all these problems and become a successful company. Many of them will not. I would really like to have a sheet now to look at the numbers, and you can do this locally in your own. Just try to look at some statistics that might be published in your area to know of all the companies that have been created, how many have disappeared, right? And so this kind of pressure economy that keeps pressuring the lower people, it's what drives our lives. It's what conditions our behavior. It's what makes people be dishonest. It's what makes people break the rules. It's what empowers people to think that they are more than others. I know some of you might say this is not the only factor to weigh in that kind of behavior, but definitely this economy pushes people to fight each other, to be divided, to point fingers at each other, say this worker is not productive enough for my company, so I must sack him. This boss is a bad boss, and because everyone is under pressure, everyone shows the worst of them in this system. And yeah, all these ideas came from this conversation because this is a thing that I like to think about. I am a worker myself. I've always been a worker. I never owned a business, but I've worked also for small businesses, and I've seen and I've felt this pressure, and I've seen the way they worked and the way that when they earn a little bit more after all that pressure and work they had, and finally their business is producing profit, and this easily goes to a businessman's head. They get over focused on this and tend to become bad people. Just put it this way, roughly this way. And yeah, this kind of economy, I mean the liberal economy is they say they argue it's for the most efficiency because it makes people be more competitive, and therefore out of this competitiveness the best ideas always win, and so you're always gifted with the best of the best. Yeah, but you forget that society is not only made of the best, right? Whatever that is. If the best of the best is making money, then we are screwed, right? But the best of the best of anything, society has to be diverse and everyone has a role in it. This is my firm conviction and belief. Even the guy that does not have any wish to work or any ambitions, monetary ambitions, he has a role in society, and this kind of mentality, it's not very healthy, let's put it this way. So I wanted to share this thought today. In the morning I go to work now, and so I don't have much time, so in the morning I'll upload another video in the memory of Russell Bentley. So I hope you enjoy it. And by the way, if you like these videos, or if you have any ideas of other kind of videos that I may have made in the past and you liked and I haven't done as often, or if you have any other ideas that you'd like me to talk about and comment on, please let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to take a look and have them in consideration and find some time to address them. I promise. Okay, so as always, see you on the next one.